This Christmas, I am bringing you all my favorite things and doing videos on all of them, from cookies to decorating, candy making. I love to make certain candies. It's a lot of things that my grandma would have done, my mom did, and not as many people do them anymore. So I think it's really fun to show you guys how to do some of these candies. Today's is English toffee. I love an English toffee. Toffee is somewhere in between a hard caramel and a soft caramel. Hard ones are like a brittle, a soft one's like those chewy ones. A toffee's in between, so it's easy to break apart and eat, but it still has that delicious caramely, butterscotchy flavor. So it's really simple ingredients. It kind of all comes down to temperature, which is what candy making a lot of times does come down to. So into my heavy bottomed pan, I always want to use a heavy bottom saucepan when I'm doing any type of candy making. It heats a lot more evenly, and it really helps so there's not hot spots on the bottom of the pan that could burn something like sugar. I'm gonna put some butter. I use for this actually a salted butter because I like the flavor. I think it's better. And then in with that, I'm adding some corn syrup. Now, it's not high fructose corn syrup, so don't freak out about that. What corn syrup does is it stabilizes the mixture. It helps the mixture not break apart, because sometimes when you're cooking butter with sugar, the butter can kind of break apart and you get this oil residue on top. This is gonna help stabilize that. Then we're gonna add our sugar right on top, and we're gonna put this over low heat on the stove. The important thing here is that we don't want this to heat up too fast, because that too could cause something to break, like the butter. So instead we wanna heat it very slowly. I'm gonna stir it a few times just so that sugar doesn't burn on it, but we're gonna let it come up to a nice simmer, low boil, and then we'll keep cooking it. As it comes up to a boil, you can see it starts coming together. It really becomes homogenized. And this is really when you wanna have a good patience. Don't just crank up the heat. Don't just try to get it to 290 degrees right away. That will make it break. That isn't what you wanna do. As it's cooking, what it's doing is cooking off extra or water that's inside of just the ingredients in general. And every time it cooks off some, it can get a little bit hotter. So you may get to points where you have kind of shelves in the heat. So you might get to like 230 or 50 degrees and sit there a while. So that's why every so often I just go in and check. When it gets closer to where we want it, 290, it will actually have a color, a toffee-like color. But until then, just every so often you can check it. And the reason I like an instant read thermometer is because I can keep taking it around and checking it at different points. If you're used to a candy thermometer, you can fit it in the kettle so you can look at it and be watching it. Just make sure it doesn't touch the bottom of the kettle, because that will give you a wrong reading, because it will be sitting on a lot of heat and the liquid won't actually be that hot. So every so often check it. When it gets to 290, we're gonna pull it off and finish it up. So we're at temperature, and you can see it's really changed color. It has that nice caramelly color. Well, really, we should just call it toffee color at this point. I'm gonna bring it over. I have my pan ready to go. It's just lightly buttered. You don't want a lot, but just so it doesn't stick. I'm gonna add a little bit of vanilla. I think that really enhances the flavor. It will kind of bubble. That's what vanilla does in a really hot mixture. Like, there it is. Always does, so don't let that scare you. You don't need to stir it too much. It works in pretty quickly. But then I'm just gonna pour it right into my pan. Oh, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. I love English toffee. And I think it's something that scares a lot of people because it can break very easily. Heating it slowly can help, but honestly, I hate to say it, but you know what helps the most? That little bit of corn syrup. That really helps that mixture so it doesn't want to break, which is a huge thing. So if you make it, you're gonna know that you kind of have a better way to do it now. So you don't have to work it into the corners. It kind of just depends how thick you like it. I don't always work it perfectly into the corners, but I like to just get a little bit more. So at this point, I like to put chocolate on it. And another thing can be hard about English toffee is the chocolate doesn't always stick. It can separate from the caramel or the toffee. So I'm gonna put on a fine chopped toasted pecan, which I will put the pecans on top of the chocolate too. But what this helps do is when the toffee is really hot like this, they go into it and then they create all these crevices and nooks and crannies where the chocolate really wants to stick to it and help it adhere. So it actually just really helps. It's all these little things that you learn after making it way too many times and having these issues that they can make a difference. So this is just finely chopped, a little bit finer than I would put on top. And you can see all these little pieces. the nooks, the crannies it creates are places that are gonna help it adhere. And we're putting it on hot because then it kind of sinks in. So while it's hot like this, because it's still pretty warm, I'm gonna add my chocolate. I'm just using a good chocolate chip, and I like a dark chocolate. I think this one's like 60%, because the thing is, this is a sugar, so it's extremely sweet as it is. You don't need all that extra sweetness necessarily in a chocolate. And I also like how a dark chocolate, once it cools, it has more of a darker look to it, which I think is prettier too. And it doesn't just get too soft in the moment you touch it and want to eat it. So I'm putting those chocolate chips right on top. And what they're gonna do is slowly melt just from the heat that's in that caramel, which is, as you can tell, really warm. So we're gonna let this go a couple minutes until they're completely melted, spread it out, add some more nuts. Guys, it's smelling like Christmas. Do you smell it? You will soon. This has sat a couple minutes, and you can see it's really shiny now. That chocolate should now just be able, look at that, look at that. That's kind of the fun part of this. You're going from just like that chip stage to a gorgeous spreadable consistency. So the pan is really hot still because that toffee mixture was extremely hot. So don't try to brace yourself with your pan unless you use a hot pad. You can see once you have it all spread out, that's just a beautiful thing. We are going to add in some more just chopped, toasted, you have to toast them, pecans. Now you could leave off the nuts, but I think these toasted pecans on top, that's really what makes it to me just like a delicious Christmas treat. This is rich, this is delicious. It is not something you should necessarily have every day of the week. Your dentist would probably get mad at you, but at Christmas, this is just special. I love to have these special candies and traditions that you make. You can create memories even if you don't currently have them. This is how you create them. Make it with your family, give it away to friends. It's just, you'll be known as the candy, just like the candy master, and who doesn't want that in their lives? Now what we're gonna do is just let it cool, then we can just break it and enjoy. You wanna let it sit for quite a while and make sure it's completely cool and the chocolate's hard. This has cooled down completely. You can see the chocolate's hard, has a good crack to it. And you can see that it is releasing from the pan because we lightly buttered the pan, makes it very easy. So now you can just break it apart however you want. I like to just, kind of like I do with my brittles, look at that. That is just beautiful. That is gorgeous. I love a good English toffee. What I love about it is toffee, like I said, it doesn't have near as hard of consistency as brittle does. So it's really easy to eat. Guys, the toffee has really rich, strong, caramely butterscotch flavor. It has the salted butter we use, so it has a good little bit of like saltiness to it. It just gives it good flavor, but doesn't overpower it with salt. The dark chocolate on top really like counteracts all the sweetness in the toffee. And then those toasted pecans, guys, that finishes it off. I'm sorry, I just had to eat more. So well, let me show you. Nice thick toffee, a good thin layer of chocolate, the nuts on top, the nuts in between that help the chocolate adhere, otherwise it just wants to separate. This is a delicious toffee. It's perfect for Christmas. It's perfect for gifts. I think it's so fun to make something that a lot of people probably aren't gonna make. And once you do it a couple times, you are gonna master it and find it is so easy. So, what do I love for you to do? Share these videos around. That really helps me. It also just helps so many people see this is doable and all these fun things that you can do to make the holidays extra special. And that's what they're all about. I love sharing Christmas with you because it's my favorite. So I'm just bringing you into my home and you're doing all the things I do with me. So share them around, check my website, wiseguy.com, for more great recipes, tips, whatever you want to see, and keep checking back for more videos because I'm not done with Christmas.